Welcome to Two Hypnotherapists Talking with me, Denise Mejia, in Delaware, USA.
And me, Martin Ferber, in Preston, UK.
This weekly podcast is for anyone and everyone who'd like to know more about the fascinating subject of hypnosis and the benefits it offers.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
I'm a retired medical doctor turned consulting hypnotist.
We are Two Hypnotherapists Talking.
So let's get on with the episode.
Hey, Denise.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm getting ready for my trip.
Oh, which brings us nicely in line with what we said we'd talk about today, self-care.
Yeah, that's right.
Self-care for people, self-care for hypnotherapists, self-care
Yes.
for anyone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, great stuff.
But self-care is a big issue. Like I've just decided I'm not going to take work with me. I ripped everything off my laptop and put it on my main computer. So although it's physically quite heavy, it is extremely light, my laptop right now. I have nothing on it, but I will be able to get on Zoom calls, and I won't download things like Movavi. I'm not going to do that kind of editing, but I can play with Canva if I've got downtime and I've got nothing else to do that's interesting. And my husband tends to go to sleep early. And I can take this little camera with me, so I can do stuff if I feel like it, which is sort of like a vacation.
But will you really be switched off?
Don't know. I think
got to switch off and get in the moment.
Yeah, I suppose so. It is difficult though, isn't it? And I think that is why I wanted to talk about it, that this is people, what do we, I and 8 other doctors wrote that little book about self-care. It is self-care isn't just, oh, go get hair done, have a little moment for yourself. It's actually spending time and really thinking about what you as an individual need.
Right. Well, do you know what, the risk of sounding really sexist, maybe this is a man thing, but it took me about 2 hours of looking at your book title to realize what it meant. When it said self-care is not a mani-pedi and it's written by 9 doctors, I'm thinking, oh, this is some technical term. And then I realized, oh, manicure, pedicure.
Yeah, it is. It's also a language issue, perhaps, because that's a very common expression here.
Right. Yeah, maybe it is over here with people who have manicures and pedicures. But as I say, self-care is not a mani-pedi. I thought, oh, it's doctors speak,
No. Yeah, I gave up on manicures when I became a doctor. You wash your hands too much. It's not worth the aggravation. A few years of it. So yeah, I thought what sorts of things do you do that you consider self-care? I mean, you carve out some major time in the weekends for things that you and Nick do, right?
Yeah, self-care for me is our Sundays are sacred. We always go for a long drive somewhere, no matter whatever the weather. Invariably, we'll probably end up somewhere that's a nice coastal walk, or we go to a garden centre, because of course Nick's mad on his plants in his garden. And we just have time together, and my phone, it's not switched off, but it's switched to silent. And unless I could see it was an emergency, I will not answer.
Right.
And that's something we've made sacred since we came out of the shop, because even then on a Sundays, we didn't make time for each other, and it's important. We don't particularly do anything special. It's not like we go for a meal or something. I mean, occasionally we do. It's just having together time, just nice quality together time without any outside interference. Because as well as I do, when you do this kind of profession, when you work for yourself, there's always work to do. And it's so easy just to carry on the next day and the next day and the next day. There is always something to do when you're doing it for yourself. So it's important, I think, to set that hard line and don't cross it. So far, so good with a Sunday. It's very, very rare I have actually done anything. I've stuck to it. Other than the fact that on a Sunday morning now, around about 6 o'clock, I do, long before Nick's up, I do spend a couple of hours plugging this podcast. It's released on a Sunday morning.
Of course, it's released on Sundays, yeah.
So I sort of let everybody know on Facebook and LinkedIn land that the latest episode's out. But other than that, and that's just usually when I have my breakfast and my coffee anyway, waking up. I'll sort of sit there and type out.
And if you didn't do it, it wouldn't make much. I mean, yes, the people in the groups wouldn't wouldn't be reminded, but most of it's been coming out now for several weeks in a row, so people probably wouldn't notice it that much. And we're all in different time zones. So.
It's just a habit I've gotten into of doing it every Sunday morning.
Right. One of my major ones is during the week is I go for a walk. I'll finish. I wear these bone conduction headphones, and I find them really comfortable. But I am physically aware. I'm aware when I take them off that they were there. You know, it's like, oh, I had a headache. No, I don't have it now. It isn't painful, but I sort of, okay, I take my headphones off. I grab my phone in case somebody wants to get hold of me, and I go for a walk between each client session or the next meeting that I have or recording with you. So that there's some downtime, but just some physical activity during the day. Of course, if it's raining. If it's raining a little bit, I'll go anyway, because I like walking in the rain. But if it's tipping, I'm not going to do it, because it's too much hassle to get ready to record again.
I do a walk 6 mornings out of 7 as a rule. And it's after I've had my bath and got dressed, but before I have breakfast. I just find it gets everything going. Where I live, it's about a 1 mile walk downhill into town. I usually find some excuse to go down there, whether it's just buy a fresh pineapple that day, because there you go, there's another one of my self-care things. I eat a pineapple every day, just my thing. Don't ask me why, I just do. I love them. So I walk down there every morning, and then it's a 1 mile walk uphill back, and by the time I'm home, then I'm ready for my breakfast. So that's that. Yes, if I get a chance through the day, and at this time of the year, I must be honest, you feel less inclined to do it. I like to go for a walk in the daytime as well. Depends if I am working from home, or I'm over at Preston, or I'm over at Blackburn.
Do you take the opportunity to go to that lovely park near your office?
Oh, in Preston, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful there.
Well, there's the park that's nearby. It's about 300 meters away, but directly opposite is the gardens, Winkley Square Gardens, which are nice, especially in summer, because people just go and sit there and take the sandwiches and things. That's always nice. But yeah, I like to do a walk in the middle of the day if I can, especially if I'm working from home, because there's a duck pond down the road, about half a mile down the road. Go there and feed the ducks. I've not seen them lately, actually. I don't know if bird flu's got them or not. Other self-care, what do? I like to do some breathing exercises in the daytime. I wouldn't call it meditation as such, because I'm not particularly clearing my mind. I'm just concentrating on the numbers. My favorite one is doing in for 7, hold for 7, out for 7. It suits me because, as you know, I've got like whatever it is, COPD and bronchiectasis and asthma. God full of lung complaints anyway. So that breathing one suits me. In for 7, hold for 7, out for 7. I know some people do something where basically they're breathing out for longer than they're breathing in. Right. Like May 7, 11, in for 7, out for 11, that kind of thing, which is great. But as I say, I've tried all different numbers and lengths of time over the years, and I just find 7, 7,
but I mean, really,
works great for me.
Yeah, and of course your body will just do that automatically now. So you can think of something else. You don't have to sit there and count unless you want to.
No, I do. But I suppose it is my way of clearing my mind, actually, because I'm just concentrating on the numbers.
Do you do any what we call waking hypnosis? Do you do any awake alert hypnosis? I think it's usually called.
Only in the sense of, and this is something I do occasionally, I'll put these earphones in and I'll go onto YouTube and I'll think of one musical track that I particularly like, top of my head, something by Blondie, for example, put that on. And then I follow the recommendations that come up after that. So you never know what's coming up next. And I might listen to 4 or 5 tracks in a row. That's my nearest thing to waking hypnosis. I don't listen to music while I'm walking. No.
Okay. Well, as you know, part of the reason that I brought this up was we're going to visit our son in Flagstaff. We fly this week. I said next week. We fly this week, and we'll be back at the end of next week. And I am determined not to work while I'm gone. But of course, my brain will still be going, and I'll probably be taking photographs. That'd be nice on my website. That'd be useful in a video. That'd be the. But I don't want anybody else's timetable affecting my timetable. Well, my son's obviously, but I want to be able to disconnect from that, to not have to look at my calendar and see what's on
quick
morning.
Alert to our listeners and viewers. Denise has just spent the 10 minutes previous to this recording telling me the work she's going to be doing while she's away.
Different kind of work. That's for on the plane work. Because on the plane, nobody can phone me. There's nothing else to do. It's the one I used to really enjoy traveling, because it was just a space that you had, and that's no longer true. It's not even really true on the plane anymore, because some carriers you can use limited phone service, and you're never away from your email anymore. And it's really important to not constantly be at people's beck and call.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's difficult because obviously I have family all over the world, and they're all in different time zones, and an emergency may show up. But an emergency, remember, I was an ER doc. I'm serious. If it's an emergency, it's act right now. It's, for most people, it would be nice if you spoke to me now, but you could also speak to me in a couple of hours or next week. It's that sense of immediacy that we all have, and if people panic if they don't have their phones with them.
It's like that sense of panic, that sense of immediacy. Somebody who shall remain nameless used to have a habit of phoning me, and if I didn't answer after about 10 rings, they put the phone down, and they'd ring again, and they'd ring again, and they'd ring again until I did answer, and that used to drive me insane.
Because you were deliberately not answering, or
because I was in the middle of doing something, maybe, and I was unable to answer.
Unable, because I mean, it sounded like it should be, I can't talk now, I'll call you back. Click. That would at least put pay to the constant ringing. Yes, I do like the new habit that people have now of texting before they call. From most people.
Is it convenient to chat now, sort of thing?
Right.
That kind of thing.
That's helpful, because then you don't have to look at it. It's a different kind of alert. It's a different ring, different noise that my phone makes, which is helpful.
How do you
know? I do miss,
sorry. How do you know when you're away that you are relaxed? What little thing do you do that you know then you're in the zone and you're relaxed?
To be perfectly honest, we don't go away often enough to have a routine for away. We don't tend to go on vacation. We'll go see some friends. We do more day trip stuff anyway. We're in a very convenient area. I mean, we can get to New York within a couple of hours and get to DC. There's a lot to do around here, and my husband's schedule is very, very erratic because he does contract work. So if he's working with a contract, he can't really go away except for the odd weekend. And then everybody else is away for that weekend, and it's expensive. So let's not go anywhere. Let's enjoy the quiet here. But I'm getting better at leaving my phone. I don't feel the quite as much urgency as I used to.
Do you know how I know when I'm relaxed and I'm away, even if we're on a day out somewhere, not necessarily away on holiday, how I know I am relaxed and I'm because I'm quite happy to go shopping. No, I do not see shopping as a leisure pursuit. I hate shopping. It's one of those necessary things.
A little bit of gender preference, but it does depend on the type of shopping. I mean, grocery shopping doesn't excite me that much unless I'm in a new locale. But pretty much these days, if I'm in Britain, it's the same shops as there are here. Just the prices and the tax basis is different. It's really about it.
But just that act of going around a few shops, looking in them, browsing at things at leisure, whether you're intending to buy them or not, you're just getting ideas.
Right.
Normally, I do not have the time or patience for it. If I'm away on holiday, or we're just away for a couple of days, and Nick suggests we go look around the shops, if I go in there and I start to feel relaxed and pay an interest in it and get in the moment, then I know I'm relaxed. Yeah,
that's more what I would consider window shopping. It's just like, if I see something I like, maybe I'll pick it up. But you know, I mean, the get these things done so that you have the rest of the day to do all the other things. Kind of, you know, go grocery shopping so you're set for the week, and you know, going out and buying clothing sometimes is really boring shopping. You have to have something. Like this weekend, I had to go get a coat because it's snowing in Flagstaff. And we're not into winter here yet. In fact, we're having very, very strange weather. It's in the 70s the last couple of days here in Delaware.
I wish it was here.
And it's November. It's wrong. It's lovely, but it's wrong.
I'm just looking now. It's 12 degrees centigrade here. So I don't know what that is in old money. It's about 55, something like that, I think.
Yeah, I can't do some math in my head either, but yeah, but it's considerably warmer here. I've got my windows open to, you know, air the house out since the opportunity is here, and I have neither air nor heating on. But yeah, so I do find traveling, once I'm on the plane, I'm fine, but I find all of the 9 million different combinations of fares and all of that stuff, I find that very stressful now. And I think that maybe old age, it maybe there's just more choices than there used to be. I don't remember it being quite as stressful, but I have more variables. When I was younger, I was traveling for me. I didn't have to worry about meshing with somebody else's timetable. So now I've got to work out whether something works for my husband, works for the person that's going to take me to the airport, works for my son who's going to pick me up at the other end. Whereas before it was like catching the bus, get on a plane.
Yeah. Well, this is what we're led to believe about plane travel in the States anyway. It's, you know, like getting the bus sort of thing, because everywhere's so spread out and you hop on, hop off. I've seen it in the films. People who are not traveling are allowed up to the departure gates, aren't they?
That's no longer true. It used to be. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it used to. That really is since 2001. A lot has changed in that. Yeah, those days are gone, but that does cut down on the number of people milling around. That helps a little bit.
So anyway,
I'm not a nervous flyer, but that is something that I think comes up quite often for hypnotists, is fear of flying. And I wonder sometimes if it's just the kerfuffle around the flight that actually makes people more nervous. I'm going
to say that the actual thing of getting into the airport, checking in, going through security now. I mean, I probably wouldn't have made the news over there, but there were some horrendous problems over here this summer. Manchester Airport for departures, horrendous, sort of 4 and 5 hours to get through departures and security, and people missing the flights and one thing and another. All that side of it, I think, is actually worse than the flight itself.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'm not nervous about TSA, but just, you know, remembering not to put your shampoo in your carry-on, you have to put it in your bag.
Oh yeah.
Sort of thing. I never used to check luggage, but I've had to in the last few years because it's just too complicated otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, Nick flies over to Belgium fairly frequently, and he doesn't travel with baggage. It's just hand baggage only, because otherwise it slows you down by an hour at the other end waiting for your baggage.
But of course, if you go somewhere frequently, you sort of have a second home or sort of an outpost there. So
well, yeah, he's visiting family, so he's got a load of stuff over there anyway. He doesn't need to take much with him.
What other kind of self-care things, though, what kind of things do you see with your clients that are either a result of not taking enough care of yourself, or them taking enough care of themselves, or where hypnosis can help them to establish those sort of habits that might help?
Okay, the biggest thing I see, obviously, stress and anxiety, and which caused by negative thinking usually, but it's if you once you start talking to people, start looking into their lifestyle, you can see a lot of them don't make time for themselves. Don't make time to get in the moment, don't take time for that nice brisk walk through the daytime, don't make some quality time for themselves. When they do have a bit of time in the evening, they're just sat there watching television, invariably eating things that are bad for them, that kind of thing.
So now that's the thing too. A lot of, but this is for me because I've had a bad day, so I'm going to eat a pint of ice cream. That is, it might in the moment feel like self-care. I'm doing this for me. It's like sleep procrastination. Like I can't pronounce it. It's a Chinese word, but staying up late just because you can, and it's finally got the house to yourself. That sort of thing. It feels like you're being good to yourself, but you're not.
especially when you're talking about the pint of ice cream, it's like, you know, it might be what your taste buds want, but what does your body want?
Mm-hmm. Or need.
Or need, yeah, more to the point,
yeah.
need. You have to discover other ways of caring for yourself. I mean, that's all part of it when you do hypnotherapy for weight loss, asking people what they would do instead of, you know, that constant food comfort thing. What would you do instead? What could you do instead? And I think a lot of it in terms of self-care, another one is, daft as it sounds, is being tidy. In terms of self-care, if people feel stressed, if people feel overwhelmed with things, it becomes self-perpetuating. You can start letting other things go and the whole thing just snowballs. I always say to people, is there anything you could tidy up? If you can't tidy the kitchen, tidy a drawer, that kind of thing. Is there anything you could tidy up that you would feel better afterwards? And I try and get
because you think that if you open the drawer and it's tidied, if it's organized, that sort of helps them feel more in control of life.
You do feel better. You know, it's a very old saying,
because
isn't it? Tidy desk, tidy mind.
Right, but we also have that strange ability for the brain to ignore things that it doesn't. You know, if it's that pile of rubbish has been there for so long, it no longer exists. It's just subtracted from the until you fall over it. And
I mean, I'll ask you the same question that I ask clients. Can you remember a time when you didn't particularly want to tidy something out, whether that's the garage or the spare room or something, and you'd put it off, and then you actually did it, and when you did it, you felt really good for it?
Oh, every time.
Yeah, because there's a certain feeling. It's that certain feeling of satisfaction you get when you've completed that task, especially in terms of tidiness.
And actually, now there's a point. It's sort of like paying off debt or anything. If you get those small wins, you do a drawer and celebrate that you've done a drawer. Don't walk in and say, I'm going to clean the kitchen. And it's overwhelming, and it continues to be overwhelming. So you need to narrow your focus.
That's what I said. If you can't tidy the kitchen, tidy a drawer.
Right. Well, I think, but rather not. If you can't do the drawer. don't take off more than, because otherwise you've got everything on the floor. It's like going through, you know, sorting your clothes out, and you take everything out of your wardrobe, and then the phone rings, and then you go back and you've just got everything's out of the wardrobe, and it's just
and then you got to put it all back.
Yeah, and it usually goes even more higgledy than it was to start with, because you've got to go cook dinner now or whatever.
Other self-care things. As I was saying before we actually went on air today, your book, Self-Care is Not a Mani-Pedi. Once I'd sussed out what mani-pedi meant, and for our British listeners and viewers, it's manicure, pedicure. Self-Care is not a mani-pedi. I was quite interested to see all the different things by 9 different doctors, including yourself. One of them, whose name escapes me now, was one about sorting out your finances as a form of self-care.
Eliza Jang.
Yeah. I was not expecting to read that in a book by doctors about self-care, but it made so much sense. It absolutely made perfect sense to me. And that was
the amount of stress that people get from that. That's Yeah, and she's not saying don't spend money, save it. It's
not at all. She's just saying get it in order.
Yeah.
What one stood out for you out of all of them? Is it unfair to ask you to choose one?
It is very difficult. I love Judy's article, which I almost wanted to take it for the title, but I'd already set my title. Hers is Self-Care is Not a Monolith. She starts it by saying she's watering the garden, and she's just allowing herself to think back. She started a garden with her kids during COVID, the first lockdown, and so she talks about those aspects of self-care. And I think all of the people in the book, they're not saying you must do this. They're saying this is something I do for this. This helps me. You might want to try it. There was a strong emphasis on meditation, or at least on being quiet. We do have science, definitely science behind knowing that just silence, just for a moment or two, is really beneficial. We're bombarded all the time with bells and whistles, and you know, we need to, well, not necessarily silent, go out into the woods and listen to some birds rather than
forest bathing.
Yes, forest bathing is big. And actually, that's another thing. This just, literally hugging a tree is quite beneficial for you, to be out in nature or just to look at nature. And if you can't get out in nature, look at pictures of nature. All of those things are very beneficial.
Talking of pictures of nature, have you come across it where they're saying about studying fractals in nature?
Oh, fractals.
Yeah, fractals. So you look at the tree and then you follow the branches and you follow the little twigs and then you follow the leaf, and the patterns are repeating, going smaller. Or you look at it with a snail shell. You start to look at the imprint going round and round and round. That was part of something I did on my studies, about studying fractals and getting into the moment, really studying those. And they were quite fascinating, because when you look at the shape and everything, the formation, the structure of the tree, and then you look at the human lung.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, that is scary. Because they're quite similar. It's like, as you were saying, if you can't get out into nature, get some fractals up on your computer screen. Google it, nature's fractals.
Yeah. So rather you had a book than a Google. I mean, I love my computer. I really do, especially with my big screen now. I can see things so much more clearly. But there's something to be said for not being on an electronic device, at least for part of the day, and at least have some time when it's just your energy that's doing something.
Oh yeah.
But do you find cooking relaxing?
Yes and no. I've got to be in the mood for it. If I am,
there you go.
Yeah, if I'm in the mood for it, I like to cook a meal totally from scratch, absolutely from scratch, and cook it and enjoy doing it.
Yes, but it's very different. It's very different when it's your job. If you're a chef and you probably enjoyed it to start with, but it's different if you're. I have to have dinner on the table by 6 because we've got to do X, Y, and Z this evening, and there's that pressure to do things. So just doing things for the creativity of it.
What else do I do for self-care? I like going to get pampered at the barber's once a fortnight.
Oh, okay.
So it is a mani-pedi. Well,
but that says on mine. But my conclusion was that do these things, and if your thing is getting a mani-pedi, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it should. The reason I chose that, it really comes around out of the 50s. Oh, the little woman's been working so hard. Go get your hair done, dear. I mean, it was that sort of feeling.
Yeah, Go make yourself look pretty for your man. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It was, or that's, retail
thankfully
therapy.
Things have changed since then.
Right. Or retail therapy, which is a fairly common term now. But yes, sometimes it's nice, but mostly the window shopping part of it, because if you run it with credit card, you're going to have different kinds of stress.
Yeah, certainly.
Most of us don't need it. Yeah. So that's my plan for this week. I will be taking off for the airport on Wednesday with my spouse, and a friend's dropping us off, so we haven't got to worry about will the taxi arrive on time, and then we're stopping in Phoenix and taking the Greyhound to Flagstaff, because there's a significant difference in price point.
Okay. And how long is the journey?
And it will be nice. It's just shy of 3 hours.
On the Greyhound,
there's a few stops. Yeah, there'll be a few stops, but they'll be nice because we'll see the little towns on the way up.
Oh yeah. Okay. 3
and
hours
it's also we also climb. I don't know what's Phoenix is in the valley, but I don't think it's at the bottom of the valleys. But we will ultimately be 7,000 feet up, so I would expect the first day to be pretty exhausted. I don't know if
the air's thinner, you'll sleep better.
Yeah, perhaps. But yes, so that I do know that we'll be going to the observatory, and that's another lovely part of nature to look at, because they have so much less light pollution there.
I was just going to say, we're talking night sky observatory. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
How fabulous.
Yeah. But apart from that, of course, the winter season hasn't really started yet. And summer's really truly gone. It's snowing there. So it snows the day before we go, but then it won't for a few days.
Okay, so it's snowing in Arizona and it's in the 70s in Delaware. Yeah, I think the weather's up the spout.
It's supposed to snow up in the mountains, dear. It's a big ski resort.
Oh, right, okay.
It would be quite upset if it wasn't.
I just keep thinking Arizona. I'm thinking, you know.
Right.
These,
you're thinking Tucson and cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah, and 10-foot tall cacti.
Yes. Yes, we might see a few of those. But so that's how my next 10 days will go. I am planning on doing lots and lots of things to put out the fire so that when I get back, I can get on with my work. But I'll report back to you whether I actually turn off completely. You'll see if I send you messages. Martin, we should do this. Martin, we should do that. Thanks for chatting, Martin. I'm off to pack.
Oh, yeah. Have a great time. I'll see you when you get back.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please remember, this podcast is designed to give you an insight into therapeutic hypnosis and is for educational purposes only. So remember, consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you've heard may apply to you or a loved one.
If you found this episode useful, you can apply for free continuing professional development or CME credits using the link provided in the show notes. Feel free to contact either of us through the links in the show notes. Join us again next week.